All right, so this is the diagram that has all the construction documents on it that you're going to encounter over the course of a project. And then off to the left, what you see are different dashed lines with words that show you different document groups. These are important because this is how the industry refers to these documents. So when the industry says project manual, you should understand what's included in the project manual as well as what is not included in the project manual. Now, the way the documents are organized, we talked earlier about standards and order and everything. And what we're showing in the diagram first are all the documents so that you understand how they fit together. But what we're going to go over is what is in the project manual, what is in the bidding documents, and what is in the contract documents. Those are actually three different things. Now, in the project manual, first you have to understand where the project manual comes from. The project manual is what the architect does in the beginning of a project. They design the project fully. They assemble all the documentation that they need for that project, the bidding requirements, the terms and conditions, the specifications or drawings, and so on. And when they put all that together, they believe they have a complete documentation set. That's called the project manual. It's the project manual that you're going to receive as a contractor when you actually put a bid on a project. So these are the documents that you need or would look for in a project manual. And notice in our diagram here, we've eliminated the other parts. Now the bidding documents just add one thing to the project manual, and that's addenda. Because what happens is after the architect finishes the design, and that design goes out for contractors to look at, there are often changes. Contractors will have questions. And the architect will want to answer those questions fairly to everybody. Some of those questions may lead to changes in the drawings or the specifications, and so maybe even contract terms and conditions. All of those changes prior to awarding a contract are included in addenda. So the architect will actually send out, on behalf of the owner, addenda, which is the change, notify everybody of the change, and then you as a contractor would recognize that change on your bid form and you bid a contract. So again, the only difference between the project manual and the bidding requirements or the bidding documents is the addenda. And finally, the contract documents. The contract documents are the set of documents that are actually included in the contract. So once you bid a job or are awarded a job from an owner, you're going to sign the forms. You're going to turn in your bid bonds. We're going to go through this stuff later, but you're going to complete that. That becomes the contract. Now look what disappears on our chart. Now our diagram is showing you that the bidding requirements are no longer necessary, but everything else is. In addition to the what is normally necessary under the project manual and the bidding requirements, we also have contract modifications, because these will be changes that are going to occur during construction. So don't get this confused with addenda. Addenda happens before a project is awarded, and then contract mods happen after a project is awarded. Now you'll often hear contract mods referred to as change orders. All right, now let's look at each of the contract document groups, starting with the bidding requirements at the top. Now the bidding requirements overall, this is to actually get the information to interested contractors that are going to bid the project. Or what have we included in here? What we've included are certainly the invitation and advertisement. Typically a letter goes out if it's not being bid, or if it is being bid, it's going to be an advertisement. So a copy of that advertisement or a copy of that letter is included in the document as one of the first things. And then we're going to look at the instructions to bidders. The instructions to bidders are really good, detailed instructions on what the bidder needs to do if they're interested in submitting a bid on this project. Next is the information for bidders. There might be additional information that you're trying to convey to bidders of certain importance that may not be included elsewhere in the documentation. But also information on who to contact if you have a question, or the procedure that you should follow if you do have a question. And then finally the bid form in the bid bond. The bid form is the form that you're going to actually fill out and sign that says how much you're willing to accept this project for, or how much you're going to charge to do this project. And the bid bond is your guarantee that you'll do the project should you get the project. Now we're going to go into details of those later, but again, this is for the bidding. We talked about how this is part of the project manual, but it goes away when you get to contract documents. Now the contract forms are very important. These are all the different forms that you will sign if you get a contract, and do kind of kick in if you get a contract. These are included in the project manual because the owner wants you to know what's going to be included in the contract, but they're not signed and they're not dealt with until you actually go under contract. Now you may have questions about these forms, and you can ask those questions in the bidding stage. But for the most part, they're just for your review during the bidding process. So you certainly have the agreement. The agreement is actually where you sign your name and make it a true contract. It's going to outline the requirement for performance and payment bonds. What are these? Well, we're going to get into that later. And finally, any certificates. Certificates are things where you're going to say that you're going to abide by certain practices or that you meet certain requirements. And all these certificates would have to be signed that you're going to honor these things during the course of the contract. The next big group are the contract conditions. We often refer to these as general and supplementary conditions. And the reason they're referred to that way is because general conditions are the things that are boilerplate. They're the things that come up on every project and on a particular owner. Take Clemson, for instance, every time they do a project, they'll have general conditions that they never have to worry about changing. Contractors also never have to worry about them changing either. And Clemson will actually notify the contractors when changes occur. So you're pretty comfortable the way the general conditions are written. And then supplementary conditions are those things unique to the project. Supplementary conditions can add to the general conditions, or they can change the general conditions. Sometimes you'll see supplementary conditions state that for a certain article of the general conditions, substitute this paragraph. Because a project requires certain changes, they can do that with the supplementary conditions. So again, you'll see the general conditions stay pretty constant and the supplementary conditions change over time. The next big group are the specifications. And these are the details of the project. We'll talk about drawings next, but drawings complement the specifications. These are ordered by master format standard. And we're going to learn a little bit more about master format in the next module. But master format used to have an older standard, now they have a newer standard, and people are constantly going in between the two, which may be a little confusing, but we'll get into that later. But they're ordered by master format, so you know where to find things. And sometimes you'll see that they're ordered by uniformat. We're not going to do that for this class. We're going to focus on master format. And finally, we have drawings. And the drawings are organized by National CAD standards. This helps you get through the drawings, helps you review the drawings. You know where to find things. You know which drawings come before or after. And that's why we follow these standards. Now, you're going to see that these are loosely followed. And you'll just work your way around it, but even the loosely followed drawings are easier to follow because they kind of follow National CAD standards.